Jeremy Corbyn was interviewed by Sophie Ridge on Sky News a couple of days ago, where he was asked to talk about Rachel Reeves' statement. Yet they couldn't help bring up, you guessed it, anti-Semitism.
Now, there'll be some who, I'll be honest, think I shouldn't be interviewing you on Gaza because you're expelled from Labour after a highly critical report by the Equality and Human Rights Watchdog about anti-Semitism.
I was
in the
not
Labour
expelled
Party.
for anti-Semitism.
You say that anti-Semitism is evil, that it's wrong. You are also a member of the Independent Alliance Party.
It's a group, not
A group,
party, yeah.
yes, apologies, a grouping.
Yeah.
Just to look at some of the examples of people in the grouping, Ayub Khan resigned from the Lib Dems after being ordered to undertake anti-Semitism training, which he disagreed with. Adnan Hussein, at a rally in 2014, claimed Israel's military operation was a Holocaust. Mohammed Iqbal was suspended from Labour after allegedly making anti-Semitic comments at a meeting. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you feel it is wrong that you have been expelled from Labour for these reasons, you're not really helping the case for the defence here, are you?
They are good colleagues and they're very good at representing their constituency and very determined to bring about peace and justice for the Palestinian people. They have exactly the same views as all the rest of us are, that racism is an evil in society. They have themselves suffered racism as Muslim people. They do not want to put the same onto Jewish people. And so we've had plenty of discussion.
So you're comfortable with all of these? Have you spoken to them about some of these reports?
I work with them. We work with them and we particularly raise issues of human rights. We raise issues about refugees. We raise issues about bringing peace to the Middle East. Surely that is a good way forward.
Some people wouldn't want me, speaking to you on Gaza. Yeah, probably your lobby journalists with you. What an absolutely insane thing to say. And I kind of feel for the guy, he must be thinking, Christ, don't these people talk about anything else? He hasn't been leader of the Labour Party for nearly 5 years, and yet they still want to attack him on this. Now, you may not have noticed, but Sophie Ridge, by trying to implicate Corbyn into another anti-Semitism scandal, talked about independent MP Iqbal Mohammed, one of the members of the Independent Alliance. You saw there that she said that he was suspended from the Labour Party over anti-Semitism. One problem, it's the wrong guy. Sophie was actually referring to Mohammed Iqbal. He was suspended by Labour, and Iqbal has no connection to this MP. Now, granted, they do have the same name but reversed, but if you're a well-paid journalist from a major corporation, I think you should get that right. Now, once they realised their mistake, they pulled the interview and then re-uploaded it with that question cut out. But nothing was said. No apology at the time. It took Stephen Methan from Navarre Media to call him out, and then finally Sophie did an apology.
Now, we wanted to clarify something discussed on last night's programme. During an interview with Jeremy Corbyn, we talked about the Independence Alliance group of MPs, and I made a reference to one of its members, Mohammed Iqbal, as having been previously suspended by the Labour Party for allegedly making anti-Semitic comments in a meeting. We wish to make clear that Mohammed Iqbal is in fact a councillor. He's not an MP, not a member of this group. Rather, Iqbal Mohammed is a member of the Independence Alliance group of MPs and did not make such comments. We want to apologise for this error and any confusion that was caused.
Now, Iqbal Mohammed has fired back at Sky News, and he said, the ease with which the mainstream media throw around baseless allegations of anti-Semitism against those critical of Israel's genocidal actions against the Palestinians is deeply concerning and shameful. And I think he's absolutely spot on. Sarah, no apology from Sky until they were called out for it. They were just, itching, really itching to try and inundate Corbyn with another anti-Semitism scandal, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's predictable that they do that. And you know what? I think I always try and point out when lazy journalism is happening. And this is an accurate example of lazy journalism. Like, oh, well, I guess they all look the same, so let's just wrong name. I think, and it's got racialized undertones to it, and it's political hit work that's kind of dressed up as like impartial reporting, and there's no impartiality when it comes to this at all. The fact that Sky News only apologized after Navarre Media came out and were like, "Hey, you got it wrong," I think speaks volumes. The fact that they couldn't issue the apology beforehand is just they're losing their journalistic integrity. They only did that because they got caught, and I don't know if they would have done it if they hadn't have been caught out. But I kind of want to talk about this weird obsession that the media has with Corbyn and consistently trying to paint him as some anti-Semite. It's getting so tiring and tedious, and it just feels fabricated at this point. Like, he firstly has not been Labour leader since 2020. That's nearly 5 years. But anytime Corbyn opens his mouth, or worse, like dares to exist, they're like, oh, well, you're an anti-Semite. So, like, anything you say is going to be linked to that. And it's getting really, really tiring. We know anti-Semitism is obviously real, and it must be fought, but weaponizing it in that sort of way, in a space like that, using it cynically to smear someone who has spent a lifetime literally fighting racism, I think is despicable.
Sophie Ridge came up with other examples from the other MPs from the Independent Alliance, right? But none of them said or did anything anti-Semitic. One of the MPs, she said, well, compared what's happening in Gaza to a Holocaust. Now, I'm sorry, but many people have compared it to a Holocaust. And if you think that is offensive, if you think that it's not accurate, I would say I find it more offensive that hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are being slaughtered, yet you're angry at someone used the term Holocaust. And I've used that term before. I don't think it's out the question to say that this is a Holocaust of Palestinians. But I find it very funny that the media's selective outrage is on words and language, but not on the actions of the government. But you're right, it's pathetic. They're still trying to weaponize anti-Semitism against Corbyn, but it's not going to work anymore. The world is witnessing the live streaming of a genocide. No one's falling for it anymore, are they?
No, I agree. Well, I hope they're not. And the ones that are the ones that I think are beyond are irredeemable, to be honest. Like, they cannot be salvaged. I think that was the term that Helena used the other day. They are unsalvageable. And I think the tide is turning. You can kind of see it everywhere, like from TikTok to trade unions to any social media site that you're on. It's like we are confronted with the fact that a genocide is happening. People cannot buy into any other narrative apart from the fact that this is a genocide, because you cannot bomb hospitals, you cannot starve children, you can't flatten entire cities in real time on live stream and then expect people to stay silent just because you slap the label anti-Semitism on it. And I think people really, I don't know why we have to keep having this conversation, Curtis. Like, can people begin to separate like us criticizing Zionism and settler colonialism and all of this sort of stuff away from anti-Semitism? Like, why is it that we're having the same laborious conversations about what anti-Semitism actually is and what being against Zionism actually is? Like, the horror unfolding in Gaza, in Palestine, is not a grey area, and I don't think that you can be impartial or sitting on the fence when it comes to that sort of stuff. It's not a complex conflict. Why are people trying to overcomplicate something that isn't complex? It's right in front of your eyes. Like, confront the truth.
Liberals often like to overcomplicate simple things and then simplify things that are complicated. And one of those things is Israel Palestine. Oh, it's complicated. Fucking not. It's not. It's a genocide. That's what it is. And look, the anti-Semitism weaponization, smearing of Jeremy Corbyn and the left, it worked in 2018, 2019. All right, it worked. It helped destroy Jeremy Corbyn. I'm not saying that was the only reason why Labour lost, but it was definitely part of it. But now, as I said, it's not going to wash on people. And I say this point every single time. I'm thinking of Jewish people in mind, because it trivializes anti-Semitism. It makes Jewish people feel worse because they feel like it's everywhere because the media is telling them that it is. And then also, on the flip side, those that see it for what it is, weaponization, unfortunately, may fall into the trap that nothing's anti-Semitic. And of course, there is anti-Semitism in society, and it's still prevalent. But obviously, again, the media do not give a flying fuck about Jewish people. They never have. Like, they've never cared about any other minority group. But they absolutely do have an interest in upholding the Western foreign policy establishment agenda and Zionism, or supporting Israel. So, of course, but that's the thing, though. Given what we've had over the last nearly 2 years now, or year and a half, and obviously the 75 years preceding that, but especially the last year and a half because it's been at the forefront of people's consciousness, people aren't buying it. And in one hand, I think that's really, really good that people are seeing through the bullshit. But again, on the other hand, it's completely trivializing it, and people are going to think it's like sort of the boy who cried wolf. But I just think they're fucking still doing this.
Still doing it.
And they're still doing it, and it's so pathetic that they can't speak to Jeremy Corbyn without bringing it up.
It's tiring, actually. And the fact, let's be super clear here. Like, I don't want anyone to twist our words. Like, anti-Semitism is definitely a poison. Like, it is something that should be confronted always. But conflating it with the criticism of Israel, I think, like you said, especially from like anti-racist campaigners, many of whom are Jewish themselves, doesn't protect Jewish people, and it won't protect Palestinians. All it does is that it protects a violent state. And I don't know if you want to be complicit in that. And if you do, then maybe sit with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and be like, why? But this isn't. I find this is something that happens across media a lot. Like, and I'm finding that these mistakes they make are a method at this point, because this isn't just about one journalist or one error. I think now this is beginning to be a bit of a pattern where the media, Sky included, play a central role in the systematic weaponization of anti-Semitism. I think especially when it comes to delegitimizing the left or movements on the left, and undermining support for Palestinians. So yeah, I'm getting slightly tired of it.
But if like Boris Johnson gets an interview, they won't bring up his remarks in his book where he compared Muslims to letterboxes, or actually his own anti-Semitic remarks in his book, right? You won't get mainstream journalists saying that. So why is it that Jeremy Corbyn is asked? And of course, we know it's nothing to like being concerned about anti-Semitism. We've been over this argument over and over again. It is just, I'm so over it.
Well,
I'm over it. And
it's a good question. Like, why do they do it? I don't think it's because they see someone like Corbyn or the likes of Corbyn. They represent a threat to the political and economic status quo. So it's
absolutely,
like, how can we tarnish them? Just slap on, yeah, you're anti-Semitic, yeah, you're a racist, and then people will start going, yeah, maybe they are, and they'll start looking for it. Anything that confirms their biases, that's what they're going to look out for.
Support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.